Let's break down Canada's housing market. Are we looking at a simple correction or a full-blown crash?
On one hand, some are calling for a once-in-a-lifetime housing crash, and they say it's accelerating.
And on the other hand, major banks are saying, hold on, this slowdown is temporary.
So which one is it? A minor correction or a major crash? Let's dig in, starting with price.
Well, CIBC says it's not one single market. For low-rise houses, inventory is super tight.
But the condo market, that's a whole different story. It's flooded with new units, pushing prices down.
The bears, though, they don't see a difference. They're predicting a race to the bottom for everything. And here's the thing. CIBC's own data actually shows that weakness. Toronto and Vancouver condos, buyer's market.
The bear case is simple. Inventory is just too high. Properties are taking way longer to sell.
Okay, but supply is only half the story. What about demand? It all comes down to people.
The crash prediction hinges on slowing immigration, which they say will cause the rental market to free fall.
This is based on the government's plan to actually reduce the non-permanent resident population in 2025.
But CIBC thinks, no way. They're still forecasting about 1% population growth for next year.
Why? Well, they point to things like asylum claims and visa overstays, driving continued housing demand.
But even with demand, can people actually afford their mortgages? That's the real question.
The bearish argument points to a huge spike in forced power of sales as a major red flag.
So what's a power of sale? It's when the lender has to sell your home because you've defaulted.
And you know what? Official data shows this stress is real, especially with rates jumping in Ontario.
But does that stress hit everyone when they renew their mortgage? Is everyone feeling the pain?
Well, CIBC dug into the data. They think the fear of a massive payment shock is just overblown.
And get this, their data shows a surprising 40% of people renewing will actually see lower payments. So you've got two completely different stories here, a complex rebalancing versus a system on the brink.
So instead of a crystal ball, here are the key things you should be watching yourself. Because ultimately, these numbers will tell us if the Canadian housing market is about to break or just bend.